Okay, it's called meeting to order. The first thing we have is item number 50, communication from Halter, Mr. Halter. I think it's Mr. And they want to change the name from State Fair Liquor and Food Mart to State Fair Food and Liquor Mart.
Mr. Chairman,
Alderman Weigel.
I believe that was at the recommendation of one of the council members that said they liked the idea of it. Food coming
Food first,
first.
yeah.
So I'm gonna move the place on file.
Second.
Well, don't we need approval?
Is it approval?
No, it's
Just a place on file?
Communication.
Yeah, but sometimes we vote in favor of communications too. Okay, place on file. Got a motion by Weigel, second by Road. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Item number 51 is various license. Do I have a motion for approval?
Move for approval, Mr. Chair.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Gotta make me ask, huh?
No, subject to necessary
Any,
requirements.
any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Then we have a discussion item. Let's see, special event permits. Go ahead.
Chair Rebecca Grill, City Administrator. The staff has been working on putting together information or proposal for a special event permit. A draft is before you tonight. It's not in an ordinance format. It's just suggestions regarding how it could be, the guidelines that could be included in the ordinance. We wanted to create standards and a process for those people that want to have a special event in the city and allow notification for events so that we have sufficient resources available, such as police and fire resources, so that we can safely provide for the event and for the people who might be participating and the residents. Provide clarity on the process for people, and then work towards cost recovery of the resources that are allocated for the events, as well as provide standards for services provided by city staff. Apparently, for some events that are not held in the public right of way, that are held on private property, city staff have been providing resources for those. So we just need to make the council aware of that and
Okay.
some
And that'll-
outlines for that.
And that would be handled in the ordinance?
Yeah, so we're looking for some
Or
input
resident.
from you on how what you want included, what should be mandated, as part of the ordinance, as well as, some input on discretion. There's different areas of discretion that is allocated in here. The first is, under the authority section. It gives the city clerk basically a broad brush of, authority to develop policies that are not in conflict with anything in the ordinance or any other policies and procedures. Then under the application requirements, the clerk can accept an application without certain documents in certain circumstances. There's under the fee section, there's a waiving of the timing requirement. There's also information regarding, the biggest section would be the issuance and denial standards. Under there, I think that, city attorney and the city clerk might have some additional comments on the draft that's before you tonight.
Okay, I got it. Go ahead.
Well, the draft is presented more as a, just prose for you to read and go through and decide what you're going to do. Rather than try to draft an ordinance that's gonna be what you're gonna consider tonight, there's so many options out there that we wanted to get some direction first from the committee. So then I can take it back and draft it the way that the council would want it to be handled. So the main idea is on one end of the spectrum, you could create a very tight, very rigorous special events permit that has everything in place with very little discretion for staff, and everyone just simply applies the rules and issues permits based upon that. On the other end of the spectrum, you could provide a lot of discretion to the clerk, police, fire, and DPW, so that they can work within boundaries that you set, to issue special event permits, and ensure that the services necessary are there. So it's really up to the committee to decide, do you wanna go with more stringent rules that are predictable, consistent, easily enforceable, more discretionary rules that are easier to work with and more flexible for the applicants, yet you still have to create some boundaries and standards for what discretion you are gonna allocate to staff. So it's more, some things can be very strict, some things can be discretion. Like I said, it's just such a wide open box there, and you could do it for public property only or public and private. So it's really up to the committee's decision to decide what kind of directive you want to give staff in drafting an ordinance for your consideration.
Yeah, we will be discussing this again, you know, when we have a full committee. and everything. What type of policies would you be looking at? It says, you know, the clerk makes certain policies, what,
But I think more of like procedural policies, right? So,
and how does it,
so the applicant would come in and there would be a procedure on how to disseminate the information, collect the information from the various department heads. And if something triggers based on like the denial criteria, that would be a reason to deny or go to the committee if we need to. Those kind of policies are just the procedural aspects of it.
and we're doing this because we're getting more applications, or when we've run into problems, or why are we?
Both. And
Okay.
we would like to cultivate more events in the city, so we need to have some guidelines for that.
And right now, there are at least 3, if not more, different ordinances that in some cases overlap or are not clear as to what applies. Sometimes a certain event would apply, it looks like you have to get multiple permits. So the goal is to create one permit where if you're gonna do something that causes any level of additional services, city services to be required, or any type of specific gathering, again, the scale of which is sort of at the committee's discretion here, then the special event permit is the answer. It's simple, it's easy to explain to the public. Public knows what they want, we know how to evaluate it, and it can become a nice, thorough and robust process within the city, as opposed to trying to follow 4 different standards depending on the type of event.
Okay, if we have a number of events, let's say 4 in one day, they're all going on, and they all want road closures and equipment or something, are we gonna have enough equipment to do that?
That would
And if
be-
we don't, what do we do?
That's one of the bases, is that things could be denied if we don't have enough resources to provide that.
So we go by whoever applied first or something, or that's what we set up?
Well, that would be part of the policies as well. Another aspect is this is creating a mechanism where all departments are on the same page. So right now, people are going to various departments for different aspects of the event, and depending on the type of event, as Cale mentioned, they might have to go to just fire department, but then Public Works is impacted. With this mechanism, we find these things out if there's multiple events going on, and now we don't have resources to follow.
Okay. Okay, I gotta look it over better and go over a little bit more on it. I guess we'll be discussing.
Mr. Chair, I guess I just have a question of policy. Are we thinking higher for non-residents, higher a different fee structure? We're gonna have a 2 tiers fee structure?
That's what we're looking
That's-
for from you,
yeah,
if you
I mean,
wanted
we
to
charge-
consider that.
I
that's-
know in the time I've been here, somebody got married at Rogers Park, and because they wanted to have their wedding at Rogers Park, and we really didn't have a way to handle that. They lived in the neighborhood, and I think if somebody wants to do that, I mean, you know.
And
Yeah, I think a 2-tier fee structure.
Read it thoroughly, cause we could develop a mechanism to have it based on the size.
Yeah,
based
oh,
on
yeah, there's a,
residents, based on the fact that they're in a park or not,
a nonprofit might get a discount versus a for-profit entity, or,
yeah.
So the major question with fees is, there is a statute requiring that the fee has to be rationally related to the cost of the event.
okay, so we can't give a discount for the,
Well, that's the thing, so as long as you're not doubling the cost, you're fine. If the price is the fees, and you're giving a discount
for
to a resident,
residents.
you're essentially saying the taxpayers are gonna be
Yeah.
partially funding the cost of your event because you're a resident. That would be how you'd have to handle it, so just to ensure that whatever the top fee is cannot exceed the actual cost.
Yeah, and this is gonna cover, I know for the dog park, we were thinking about doing like a pop-up beer garden event at the dog park eventually, not this year, but next year. So But that would be a city-sponsored event.
If a city-sponsored event, you wouldn't be charging
No.
for that. This is more for non-city I mean, the way that it's written, it's a city-produced event is not included. If, funerals and funeral processions, people going to and from school, events on state fair. And then, currently it says events held on private property unless the event requires city services, but you could also include private property. The way the fees are laid out right now, the fee for the special event is $500. If there's, if it's foreseen to cost more than $500 for city services provided, we would also charge city services fee, which includes a $50 per hour employee charge, police, fire, public works employees, and then there's equipment fees that are listed in here. Barricades, benches, no parking signs and things like that. So, those are the things that are currently in there.
Yeah, we don't have any, you can't rent a park, like Rogers Park, you can't rent a park or any portion of a park,
We-
city parks.
We have a park, policy currently,
There's.
Public Works.
Well, that was the problem with that wedding. The people, we couldn't
Right, just
guarantee,
sometime.
we had to be able to guarantee that,
Well,
yeah.
one thing to keep in mind, because I've been through this particular permit in the past, renting a park is merely to reserve the park so no one else can use it but you. It really has nothing to do with an event, but we do have it in here, I believe Rebecca put that in there, that if they are renting a park, because they are paying a fee to rent the park. So that's another thing you gotta think of, if you wanna include those or not. Right now, I think she has it in here as,
They're not included.
they'd be
Yeah.
exempt from it.
Because there's a alcohol component with those parks and things like that. I don't know if you wanted to include that. This also, provides for the block parties to be part of it for $25. No equipment fees are charged for that. Neighborhood
We're talking about for
cleanups.
National Night Out, for Anna,
Yeah.
yeah.
Neighborhood cleanups, there's no fees charged. If you're a bona-fide nonprofit organization like 501c3s, you don't have to pay the equipment fees, but, you have to pay the equipment fees, but the delivery fees shall be waived, things like that. So we just need some guidance on this because as, we are providing some of these services without the authority at this time, so,
Okay,
Just-
you're just renting out a park though, it's a public park, paid for by the public. I just have a problem, like the
county
county,
does it, the
well,
county
county,
does
but they have picnic areas.
Yeah.
And the picnic areas are there to rent, that's basically what they're there for, because they're all numbered, and whereas we don't have that structure of anything.
We had a group that wanted to rent our skate park for an event. And internally, we decided the skate park with no dedicated parking, no plumbing, no bathrooms. It wasn't built our skate park was not built as a regional skate park for hosting events. It's just not conducive to that. So we just plain told them no.
This does not include the parks. There is a separate park policy.
Oh, that's
I
right,
don't-
yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
Um,
this is more for like if somebody wants to block off the street, or if
Okay.
they wanna have a huge parade, or anything that's really gonna encumber our resources.
Okay.
On the street block off, I think typically when somebody has a block party, we ask them to get signatures from the neighbors.
That's-
Or are we gonna do a mail or a notify, like we do for a public hearing? I mean, $500, will that cover mailing the neighbors on an affected?
Oh, God.
So the way that this is written is if they wanna, for special events that include a street event or block party, written consent from representatives of at least 50% of the occupied lots that abut the portion of the street to be closed need to be included.
So the
as
onus
part
is,
of-
the onus is on the organizer to prove to us,
Correct.
okay? And so we have no responsibility to notify people that, what if the guy, well, I go down one side of the street, I got my 50%, he doesn't even knock on the doors on the people across the street. Suddenly they come on Sunday morning, I come home from church and there's barricades, and I can't get to my front door. I think there should be a notification process on a street closure.
So perhaps you wanna have more than 50% of the residents notified, or,
The way I've seen other communities do it too is that you only need 50% of the residents to get the
Approve it,
permit.
yes.
But then prior to the event, there's a notification of public, like
Yes.
signage we post in
Yeah.
the block.
Yes,
This will be
something,
closed
door
later
tags
today.
or like I said,
That could again be on the organizers to do that.
So you get consent from 50%.
50%, cause,
There's
you know,
notification of all.
I don't have a problem with the 50% consent. I just wanna make sure that all the affected property owners
Yeah.
are right.
I'm not
So,
surprised by it.
Part of the criteria is to include the various departments as well as the 2 aldermen of the district. It's incumbent on the department heads and alders to provide comments and potential conditions to the
Yes,
permit.
yeah,
So
that's
that could
one of
be-
them. Notification on street closures.
On all circumstances in which roads are gonna be closed,
Yeah, parades,
so that,
block parties,
Yeah.
Hollywood film shoots.
Right, this, you could do right now, we've had issues where we've had
a lot of
people
people.
wanna come in and do shooting of movies
Really?
or
I
something.
was making that up.
No, that
Okay.
actually
Oh,
happened
they-
last year, I think.
Yeah, there's a lot of places that charge.
Yeah, so this would could
Yeah.
include that.
Yeah.
So
And the
it,
DNC is gonna be here next year. Some people might wanna do
All
something.
sorts of events.
Yeah. Stop it.
I didn't say nothing.
so, is
City
your
wants a climate
direction
change.
that we have another discussion
Yes.
at the next?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
Well,
Especially with 2 guys.
Did this notice go out to the entire council?
The other 5? Or just this committee?
It's
I think,
just this
I think we'd like
committee.
input.
Why don't we send it out to the other
Public
5, so they
Works.
know this is going on also,
okay,
so everybody's
Yeah,
informed.
yeah, Public Works too.
And I don't remember if Rebecca said it or not, but she did send it out to all the department heads to comment on.
Okay,
Right.
yeah, she did.
Okay. Anything further? Okay. Okay, that's it then. Motion to adjourn,
So
Second.
moved. Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's it.
Okay, now for the real reason we're here. Like to call the Administration and Finance Committee to order. 3 members being present, 2 being excused. We're gonna start with item number 18. Is an ordinance to amend salary ordinance number 2018-027, establishing the pay for crossing guards in the miscellaneous pay scale.
due
Rebecca?
to the recent unfortunate events, we, are needing to hire crossing guards for ourselves. We've been, the police department and HR has been working together to, fill that gap, but if we're gonna be doing it for a longer term, we need to establish the salary schedule for them. So this includes crossing guards.
We got about 2 more months, a little over 2 months.
We have a reprieve this week, yes.
Oh, break.
Do
That's
do
right,
we believe
Easter.
that this is gonna, the situation's gonna resolve itself with a new contractor for next year? We don't know.
I'm not sure.
That's what they're working towards.
Yeah, so this is just gonna be, and it may be a lot of the same individuals,
Do
yeah.
Do we know what they were getting paid?
I believe
11
it
to
was
thir-
$10 an hour,
yeah,
so they're starting out with $1 more than
yeah,
they were.
It says 11 to 13 is what they're gonna get paid. Do I have a motion?
Yeah, I'll move for approval.
And I'll-
Second.
I'll take it Alderman Rote is gonna second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor
Aye.
and opposed? 3 ayes and the motion carries. Item number 19, we're gonna take with item number 22 at the request of the city administrator. Item number 19 is an ordinance to repeal section 2.25 and to amend section 2.52 in the city RMC regarding creation of farmers market committee fees. And item number 22 is amending the schedule of fees related to farmers market fees, which is why it makes sense that these 2 items be taken together.
So this is giving the authority to charge the fees and then establishing the fees. At this point, the fees are the same as what they were previously. It was just not included anywhere in the ordinances previously, so,
And these are the fees we're charging the farmers, correct?
Yes.
correct.
It's like $500 a season. Right.
So that, none of that is just being changed, we're just codifying existing process.
Move for approval.
Second.
A second from Alderman Rote. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 19 and 22 carry. Item number 20.
Move for approval.
Hey, slow down.
What item?
20.
Second.
Alderman Rote, this is a resolution approving a loan to the city of West Dallas from Fire to assist in the financing of the West Quarter West LLC and West Quarter East. This is the Cobalt Partners project. Do I have any discussion on this?
I think we already had enough.
Yeah, I think we've had enough discussion on this. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And opposed? It carries. 3-2. Item number 21, another resolution. This is to approve, oh, you know what? We're gonna hold this. I'm holding item number 21 because I have some questions on this. And I did talk to staff about it. It's not gonna bust anybody's timelines.
Okay.
Okay.
So 21's being held.
21's being held.
23.
23 is a communication from Cass Tech, one of our employers on National Avenue, and they're laying off 4 people, and it looks like doing a permanent closure in the first week of June.
Motion to place on file.
Second.
Any further discussion? It'll be placed on file. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And opposed?
Motion number 24 gets placed on file.
And item number
Second.
24, this is another closure. This is Motor Castings. They're moving, I think, to Indiana.
Indiana.
We're gonna miss them, 113 employees. I have a motion from Supleski, a second from Rote. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And opposed? I believe that is it. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So
Move for
moved.
adjournment. Second.
Gotta move faster, man.
What's that?
I'm quick on those. You gotta move
You're light,
We
when you're
are
closer,
adjourned.
he can hear you better.
Oh, I see.